A very good afternoon, captains, and welcome aboard. This is Captain Simwing speaking, and for today I've got some fantastic news. Again, I've been promoted to fly for FlySafair in my virtual career. This is especially exciting because it means that we'll be shifting our focus and our home hub to right here in South Africa, starting with OR Tambo International Airport. So for today's flight, we are kicking off our FlySafair journey with a flight from our new home, OR Tambo, to Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport. This airport was formerly known as Port Elizabeth Airport, and we will be doing today's flight in the PMDG 737-800, as that's the aircraft that FlySafair uses. So it will be great to fly these routes that I could potentially fly as a passenger as well in real life. And then on today's flight, we'll be utilizing BeyondATC for our air traffic control, self-loading cargo to manage cabin operations, as well as GSX for the ground services. With regards to self-loading cargo, I will just be using the audio only. If you want to catch videos of me using the interactive version of self-loading cargo, please do watch my exhibition flight series, and that is where I then display the interactive functions embedded within self-loading cargo. And as a disclaimer, please note that this is a simulation. Some procedures may be skipped and overlooked for the sake of pacing and entertainment. And also at certain points during the flight, I will be handing over radio control to the BeyondATC AI assistant in order to focus on piloting the aircraft. Roughly this should take place when we take off. After takeoff, it is the AI assistant who will be handling the radio communications and routing us onto the departure frequency, as well as the radar and center frequencies as well, while we are just flying the aircraft. So get ready for an immersive experience as we navigate the skies together, and let's begin. So begin by hopping into the aircraft, and we'll switch to the top panel and turn on our batteries. Let me just place the throttles where they should be. There we go. Warning sign off. And after turning on the batteries, we're going to turn on our emergency lights, turn on the logo lights, and put the position lights on. I'm going to leave the anti-collision lights off for now. Jump to the top and turn on our probe heats, as well as our window heats. And from there, we've got our emergency lights on. We are going to jump to our ADS, and before I do that, just want to turn on the ground power. We've got ground power connected, so now we can jump to the ADS, flip them to the nav position, and switch to the heading selection over here, and it should give us a time to alignment. So we have around 9 minutes for the, or 8 minutes rather, for the ADS to align. All our lights are on, indicating that the aircraft is powered on and we are busy inside the aircraft. Awesome. We can jump to our flight tablet and we can import our flight for today from SimBrief. As you can see, we'll be flying from FAOR and we'll be heading all the way to Port Elizabeth Airport, which is in Port Elizabeth, or the Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport. It's going to take me some time getting used to the name change, as I know it as Port Elizabeth. Right, just a brief overview of our flight plan for today. We'll be departing OR Tambo International, heading to Chief Dawid Stuurman International. Our allocated cost index for today is 67, and we've got average winds coming in from 284 at 55 knots. Got an average wind component of -004, so we have a slight headwind, and we've got an allocated cruise altitude of flight level 300, that being 30,000 feet. About takeoff weight today, we will be carrying 68 tons, and for our block fuel, we have a fuel of 8.6 tons with a couple of kgs set as extra fuel just for any extended taxi procedures, as well as a go around should we need to perform it. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the aircraft refueled in the meantime, catering loaded as well, and then the passengers boarded as well. So we will go and request for refueling of the aircraft, and Swissport can take care of that. Then we'll also go and request for the catering service.
Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
And we'll also go ahead and ask for boarding.
Boarding requested.
Alright, we can then flip to our Navigraph charts, look at our departure airport, and then head over to the airport page and select our ground chart for the airport. So for today, we are departing FAOR. Our ATC at FAOR is 126.2, so we're going to note that.
Catering vehicles are on their way.
And we have clearance, OR Tambo clearance delivery on 121.7. Awesome, that chart is pinned for our arrival. Going to do the same, have a look at the airport chart, and then just pin that as well.
The fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
Right. Then we're just going to go back to our flight plan, have a look at our routing. So we will be taking off runway 03 left, or we've planned for departure on 03 left, heading direct to HGV. So we will be given vectors to HGV. We don't have a star set, a SID set for this, and the same applies for the arrival as well. We don't have a star for that, so we will just be heading direct to the airport and should be vectored in. Our first waypoint is HGV, just want to note that, and then our last waypoint before heading to the airport is PEV. Awesome.
Departure checks completed.
You can tune into the ATC and have a listen, and then just take notes of the conditions for today's flight. So 126.2. And while we are listening to the ATC, you can just hop outside the aircraft and have a look and see what's happening.
0. Temporary flight restrictions are in effect for Johannesburg. Advise on initial contact you have information India. Johannesburg Airport information India. 1157 Zulu. Wind 280 at 8. Temperature 21. 2.11. QNH102 tree. VFR conditions. Landing runway 21 left. Departing runway 21 right. Transition level 080. Temporary flight restrictions are in effect for Johannesburg. Advise on initial contact you have information India. Johannesburg Airport information India. 1157 Zulu.
Alright, that was our ATC. So we have information India, expecting departure from runway 21 right, and we've got temperatures of 21 degrees and a QNH of 1023. You can just proceed to set that. 1023. And then let's just have a look at our charts and see if we don't have the waypoint. So standard instrument departure, can look for HGV, which should be the Heidelberg, and there we go, can pin that, and we are departing from runway 21 right or 21 left. So we've got 21 right for today. So we're going to note HGV 5D as our possible set for today, but this will be confirmed from air traffic control. So you can go back to our plan charts, open the airport chart, and then take note of the clearance frequency, which is 121.7, and proceed to ask for clearance. Right, let's ask for clearance. OR Tambo clearance delivery. This is FAFAir 238 with information India, requesting clearance to Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport.
FlightSafair 238, Johannesburg delivery. Thanks for information, India. Expect runway 21 right. Climb flight level 120 on runway centerline, then expect radar vectors Heidelberg. Squawk 1761.
Get to Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport, expect runway 21 right. Climb on the runway centerline to 12,000 feet and then expect radar vectors to Heidelberg. Squawk code 1761. SAFAIR 238.
SAFAIR 238, read back correct. Contact ground 122.65 when ready for pushback or engine start.
Ground 122.65 when ready for pushback and engine start. SAFAIR 238.
Negative, ground on 122.65.
Ground 122.65. Alright, we've got ground given to us, so we are not going to depart on the set. It's still going to be a vectored departure, so we are expecting runway 21 right, and then we will be given radar vectors to HGV, that being Heidelberg. So we can go to our FMC, hit FMC, and then let's begin setting up the aircraft. So our reference airport is FAOR, and then we can pull from the
All
left.
aircraft be advised, information Juliet now current QNH 1023.
Okay, our QNH is still fine, so our region FAOR, and then our destination will be FAPE. Base flight number, we are SAFAIR 238. Right, and then we can just go to the next page. So we will be departing the airport, and then we've given a direct to HGV. So we'll insert that direct HGV, and then from HGV we are following the uniform Zulu 16, and we are going to Neven. Then we are told to follow the uniform Quebec 8 airway, and we will be going to Alcat. Then from Alcat we'll head direct to PEV, which is our last waypoint before we begin approach procedures. Then we can have that activated, execute. Then we can go to our departure arrival. So we are departing runway 21 right, and then we don't have a set. And then in terms of arrivals, we are arriving at runway, we have a planned arrival for runway 26, Island Zulu 26, and then our transition waypoint is PEV, as that's our last point, and we can execute that. Awesome. Can head to the legs page and then just have a look at our flight plan. Can turn up the brightness a little bit. And then let's just have a look. So we're gonna flip to the plane mode and then just zoom out a little bit and zoom out. So we will be departing FAOR, and then we have to make a turn. So we'll be radar vectored towards the south to go to our waypoint Heidelberg or HGV, so we can hit step and continue heading south, the southerly direction, and then we arrive at Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport, and then we should be given runway radar vectors so that we could intercept our initial fix and then our final, and then make a landing on runway 26. So that looks good. We can return to the map, and then we can input some more data. So in it, then we can go return and head to the payload page, and let's look. Our zero fuel weight is 60.3, and that brings our gross weight to 69.2, close to that. So gross weight 60.3. okay. And then for the reserves, I'm going to look at FinRes plus alternate is 3.9, and then we have contingency of 700, so that gives us 4.6 for our reserves. Our blend fuel, block fuel was 8.6. Then our cost index for today's flight is 67. Cruising altitude is 300, and we've got winds coming in from 284, 55 knots. Average ISA for today's flight is positive 10, so add 10 to that, minus 34, and our transition altitude is 8,000 feet. Can execute that. Then you can just have a look at the next page. That should be fine. N1 limits, let's just do our takeoff calculations. So we're going to go to our performance tool, to one right, import from the aircraft, import from the weather, and hit calculate. So we don't have a derated takeoff for today. Our N1 is 97.6%. Got flaps 5, 270 at 7. So our selected temperature is 36 takeoff. So we have takeoff and then selected temperature of 36. There we go. Our N1 is almost matched. Should adjust after we key in some more minor details. Winds 270.7, 70 at 7, and then slope of 036, a positive incline of 036. Temperature is correct. Alright. Conditions are dry. You can head to the next page. It's a flaps 5 departure. For the CG, we have 19.5.
FAIR 262, gate Alpha 13. Request pushback and engine start.
And we have a trim of 5.67. So let's have a look at our winds. 45, 46, 48.
FAIR 262,
Our speeds
OR Tambo apron, pushback
45,
approved.
46,
Face north.
Right. Awesome. Next page, data and request.
Pushback and engine start approved. Face north, FAIR 262.
Right, we can load these winds. Execute. Just wait for the descent winds to, and then
Ladies
we can
and
clear
gentlemen,
that and head to
welcome
the
on board the
descent
self-loading
forecast,
cargo service.
load the winds as well.
Please place your large bags into the overhead locker wheels first, and keep your small
Execute.
items under the seat in front of you. These include laptops, handbags, duty-free and loose items of clothing. Once you have safely stowed your cabin bag,
We'll go back
please
to our
take your seat.
N1 page and then
To
go
help
to
us ensure a
takeoff.
prompt departure,
Then we can
would
set
kindly
our
ask that you
V2,
keep
that
route
is
clear,
149.
enabling all remaining customers to board. Your seatbelt can now be fastened ready for departure. This is a no-smoking service. Thank you for
And we
observing
have
this
a
policy.
trim of 5.67. That should be fine. And then our runway heading is 215. Just want to look at the
FAIR
charts.
262, request taxi to the active.
21 right, so we have 214 here. So we're going to
Safari
set a heading
262,
of 214.
runway to 1 right taxi via Foxtrot, Alpha, Quebec.
Runway
So,
21 right taxi via Foxtrot,
can turn
Alpha,
on our
Quebec,
flight
Safari
directors.
262.
And then turn on the VNAV for vertical navigation, and then we're gonna go heading select, and then we're going to set our squawk code for today, which is 1761. Let's have a look. 150 passengers on board so far out of 166. Everything is good so far. Alright, since almost all passengers are boarded onto the plane, we can then proceed to turn on our APU. So I'm going to turn on the fuel pump and then proceed to turn on the APU, and then we can just jump outside to have a listen to the APU startup. Alright, and that's our APU startup. We can head back inside the aircraft. Okay, and we can flip on the APU gens and proceed to turn on all fuel pumps. We are carrying fuel in the center tanks as well, so turn on the center tanks. Our cruising altitude is 30,000 feet, so we're just going to set that on the pressurization panel. And then we are going to turn on our APU bleed. Then I'm not going to introduce air conditioning as yet, because we are going to be departing soon. And then we can turn on, because we are going to need the air to be redirected to starting the engines as well, so we will eventually have to turn the packs off. Right, so we can then turn on our chime lights and then proceed to turn on our seatbelt signs. And that should be good to go, and turn off the ground power. That's good. Aircraft is set up. Right, you can just ensure that all doors are closed. And release the ground power and release the air conditioning unit. And then under door management, just close all doors. Alright, all doors
Toe
are
is
closed.
attached, steering pin is inserted. Stand by while we start pushback.
From there, we can then proceed to turn on the anti-collision lights, which is our beacon lights, because we are going to start the aircraft up. And then we can request for pushback and engine start. Tambo ground, this is SAFAIR 238, request pushback and engine start.
SAFAIR 238, OR Tambo apron, pushback and engine start approved. Face north.
Pushback and engine start approved, face north. SAFAIR 238. We are directed to face north, so that means our nose will go to the right. Can head on to GSX and then prepare for pushback and departure.
Safair 262, contact OR Tambo Tower 118.1, bye-bye.
Then we can proceed. Okay, the jetway has
Over to
been
Tower
disconnected.
118.1, Safair
Then we can
262.
proceed to remove the chocks as well. With the jetway disconnected, we can then introduce our hydraulics. And everybody is clear of the aircraft, and then our initial climb is going to be 12,000 feet. 12,000 feet set
Cabin
up.
crew, set doors to
And then we
automatic
are
and
going to
cross-check.
go TA. And then nose facing north. That's what we want.
Release parking brakes, please.
Then start our clocks, add brakes, and release the parking brakes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now ask for your attention while we take you through the safety procedures on this aircraft.
Started well.
Okay,
A
we'll
safety
start
card
with
is in your
number
seat
2.
pocket showing the exit routes,
We are
oxygen
waiting
masks,
for
life jackets, and
20%,
brace position,
and then we
which you
will
must adopt
introduce
if you
some
hear
fuel.
brace. Brace. There are 2 emergency exits at the rear, 4 in the middle and 2 at the front of the cabin. Floor lighting will guide you to an exit.
We've got
Please
20,
be aware
can
that your
introduce
nearest exit
fuel,
may be behind you.
and then just hop
In
outside
an
to have a
emergency,
listen.
all cabin baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted, and released as shown. It must be fastened when the seatbelt signs are on, and we recommend that you keep it fastened at all times. If the air supply fails, masks will drop from above you. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Put the mask over your nose and mouth, hold in place with a strap and put it over the side to the left. Put in your own mask.
Let's line ourselves up with final line.
If the lighting is emergency. Put it over your head. Whilst the tapes around your nose, get together and pull the strap to the face. Do not be present in
And that's the engine number 2 startup.
Aircraft be advised, information
You can
kilo now
proceed to
current,
turn on number 1
QNH1023.
or the company traffic leaving.
We also
Alright,
carry flotation
let's
aids for
turn on
children.
number 1
Your tray table must now be stowed.
and then just wait for 20% again, and then we can introduce some
We
fuel.
wish you a pleasant flight and thank you for flying with self-loading cargo.
We've got 20%, can introduce fuel, and then just hop outside and listen.
Please set parking brakes.
And that's our engine startup. Can elevate our camera slightly and just have a look, as we will be testing our flight controls. Alright, so we've got a flaps 5 departure. We can extend the flaps. Then we can head back to the front to set our parking brakes. So we're gonna apply some brakes and then pull up the parking brake,
Waiting your confirmation for a good
and
engine
then
start.
confirm that we have good
Cockpit to
engine
ground.
start.
We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Then we're going to turn on
Unlocking
the
gear.
engine generators, and then proceed to turn off the APU bleed, turn on the engine bleeds, then turn on the PEX as well as the recirculated air. Awesome. And then let's just test our flight controls. So we're going full left, then full right, then we're going to go full up, then full down. There we go. We can now just adjust our cameras, because we are looking for the tail camera, as we are going to be taxiing. Okay,
Tow truck disconnected.
going to ask for taxi instructions.
Springbok 43 at Gate Bravo 1, request pushback and engine start.
Springbok 43, OR Tambo
Auto brake
Apron,
set to
pushback
rejected
approved.
takeoff.
Face
Auto
north.
can be turned on. What?
Pushback approved. Face north. Springbok 43.
Amber ground, SafairAir 238, request taxi to be active. We can turn on our taxi light now
SafairAir
that
238,
ground is clear.
runway to 1 right taxi via Foxtrot, Alpha, Quebec.
Taxi to runway 21 right via Foxtrot, Alpha, Quebec, SafairAir 238. Set this to continuous. Let's make our way to the runway. Use brakes to release the parking brake, then you can just introduce throttle not more than 40%.
Springbok 43. Request taxi.
Alright, after this turn I'm just going to flip BeyondATC to the AI
Springbok
assistant.
43, runway to 1 right taxi via Echo, Alpha, Quebec.
Runway 21 right taxi via Echo, Alpha, Quebec. Springbok 43.
Have a look outside. The airport is very accurate. Very nice scenery. Very nice scenery. This is the international side. Where the big planes park, such as the A380s and the 777s, park on this side. On this side. We're about 12 minutes left until we will be considered late, so we should make it on time and take off on time.
Ethiopian 808 Heavy. At gate Alpha 3, request pushback. Ethiopian 808 Heavy, OR Tambo Apron, pushback approved. Face southeast.
Alright.
Pushback and engine start approved. Face southeast. Ethiopian 808 Heavy.
Cabin crew seems to be seated and the cabin seems to be secured. You can tell from the green indicated on self-loading cargo. This is the cargo base, cargo section. Really accurate to what we see in real life. Love the scenery. I love flying local as well. So we're going to make a turn on quick.
SAFAir 238, contact OR Tambo Tower 118.1.
Tune into the tower frequency and we can do our final checks and request takeoff.
Over to Tower 118.1, SAFAir 238.
Right, be prepared to just slow down and hold before we Gqeberha. Awesome. Brakes are held, you can do the parking brakes. Let's prepare our aircraft. So we're going to turn on the weather radar, turn to TARA, switch on the weather on my side and the terrain on the co-pilot side, turn on our landing lights, turn on our lights, our taxi light is on. We are on continuous and then we can turn on our strobe light. There we go. And that's our aircraft prepared. Let's request for departure. OR Tambo SAFAir 238 holding short runway 23 right, ready for departure.
SAFAir 238, OR Tambo Tower, wind 290 at 7, fly heading 210, runway 21 right, clear for takeoff.
Fly heading 210, runway 21 right, cleared for takeoff, SAFAir 238.
Alright, we've been cleared for takeoff. Introduce some brakes, introduce throttle, heading 210, got our heading selector. And our cabin is seated and secured. Awesome. Let's carry on. Got some traffic behind us. Can hear from their engines. Right, let's line her up and get
Springbok
ready to go.
43, ready to go. Runway 21 right.
Oh, it's South African Airways behind us also. Here we are aligned.
Springbok 43, number 2 for departure.
Full.
Hold short of 21 right.
Choose some throttle.
Roger. Hold short of 21 right for traffic. Springbok 43.
Over.
Airspeed's alive.
Springbok 43, runway 21 right, line up and wait.
Line up and wait. Runway 21 right. Springbok 43.
This is a long takeoff roll, eh? Very nice one. There we go. Go back.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Awesome takeoff. Get back inside. Make sure we are not passing 20 degrees. Follow the flight director.
Springbok 43, OR Tambo Tower. Wing 290 at 7. Runway 21 right. Cleared for takeoff.
Runway 21 right. Cleared for takeoff. Springbok 43.
Call in the autopilot. There we go. Autopilot is armed. Can enjoy the
FAPE 238. Contact Johannesburg radar 123.7.
Let's bring up some.
Contact Johannesburg radar 123.7. FAPE 238.
Looking for our 10,000 foot marker.
Johannesburg radar, FAPE 238, 7,600 feet.
Flips up.
FAPE 238, Johannesburg radar, identified, climb to flight level 150.
0.
Climb to flight level 150, FAPE 238.
FAPE 238, turn left, heading 190.
190.
Turn left, heading
We are past
190,
8,000
FAPE
feet, so we
238.
can flip to standard barometric pressure.
All aircraft be advised information Lima now current, QNH 1023.
Ladies and gentlemen,
After we pass 10,000 feet, I will flip to a passenger camera so that we can just enjoy the climb as well.
toilets are located at each end of the cabin. Remember that smoking is
Springbok
not
43, Johannesburg radar, identified, climb to flight level 180.
will commence our in-flight service, offering you the chance to purchase from our selection of fresh
Climb to flight level 180, Springbok 43.
found in your in-flight brochure. You can also purchase a selection of hot beverages together with drinks and snacks. from the
FAPE
bar.
238, clear direct Heidelberg. Resume on navigation.
Debit or credit cards.
Right,
The
we
correct
cleared
change will be
direct
greatly
Heidelberg.
appreciated, and
Roger,
you can be
we'll head
done
direct
with
Heidelberg, then
assistance.
resume
Then
own
just
navigation
ask us to
FAPE
join
238.
shortly.
Thanks.
Can hit
Thank you.
L nav as well. There we go. Let's have a look. It's gonna start outside and then we'll work our way inside again. The iconic pink engines. This plane can be seen from miles away.
FAPE 238, contact Johannesburg Control West 118.5.
Contact Johannesburg Control West 118.5, FAPE 238. Johannesburg Control West, FAPE 238. Through flight level 128 for flight level 150 direct Heidelberg.
FAPE 238, Johannesburg Control West, identified. Climb to flight level 300.
Alright, we've been cleared to our cruising
Climb to flight
altitude.
level 300,
We've
FAPE
been flight
238.
level 300. I'm just going to key that in. Alright. Then we're gonna head to the climb mode. We'll be there in around 11 minutes. Right. Captains, I'll see you in 11 minutes. After 11 minutes I will be coming in just to see how long we have until the top of descent. But in the meantime, please do enjoy the climb, enjoy the scenery, and enjoy the low file change. chill music playing in the background. See you and speak to you once we are about to make our descent to Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport,
Johannesburg Control West, Springbok 43, flight level 150.
Our caution light came on. We can turn off our
Springbok 43,
descent
Johannesburg
fuel tanks,
Control West.
because they no
Good day.
longer have
Radar
fuel.
contact.
There you
Climb to
go.
flight level 360.
Enjoy the climb and enjoy the cruise. We'll be back.
Climb to flight level 360, Springbok 43.
SAFAIR 262. Contact Johannesburg Control East 119.9.
Contact Johannesburg Control East 119.9. SAFAIR 262.
Alright, that's us at the cruising altitude of 30,000 feet. We are expected to reach top of descent at 13:34 Zulu, time is 12:57. I'm gonna come back in 27 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes we will be starting the in-flight drinks service. If you could please ensure all aisles are clear and bags are placed in the overhead lockers, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
So I'm back at 13:26. Just gonna set the time to 13:26. Then we'll be making our way down to our destination airport. Continue to enjoy the cruise and the music. See you soon.
Center on 119er decimal 9er, SAFAIR 238. Johannesburg Control East, SAFAIR 238. Good day, flight level 300.
SAFAIR 238, Johannesburg Control East, radar contact.
Control East 124.7, Safair 238. Cape Town Control East, Safair 238, flight level 300.
Safair 238, Cape Town Control East, radar contact.
about 8 minutes to our top of descent. Awesome. We can head on down to our legs page and then just grab our arrival, which is runway 26, and then insert it on the fixed page and set a radial for 100 nautical miles, and we are going to use this to set the range for the ATC frequency on arrival. And then on arrival we have ATC on 126.2, if I'm correct. Let's just have a look at our charts. Of 126.8, so we can set that up in the meantime. 126.8.
Cape Town Control East, SAFAir 143. Good day. Flight level 164.
There we go, and we should be getting our ATC once we cross the
SAFAir 143, Cape Town Control East, radar contact. Continue climb to flight level 360.
Oh, the views are amazing.
Continue climb to flight level 360, SAFAir 143.
Let's just have a look around again. Wow, this is amazing. South Africa is truly incredibly beautiful. I love my country. It's amazing. I want to set a view that looks at the engines so that we can see them when they open up. Yeah, this view should be good. We should be seeing them split right here when we set the reverse thrusters. That's going to be a cool shot. Let's head back to the cockpit. Right, a little over 40 nautical miles to go. Just going to wait for clearance from ATC in terms of which arrival runway we should expect, and our radar vectors, as well as the altitude that we should make our way down to. Right.
SAFAir 238, Cape Town Control East. Expect radar vectors. ILS Zulu runway 26.
Expect radar vectors. ILS Zulu runway 26, SAFAir 238.
Alright, and that was our clearance. We should expect radar vectors to ILS Zulu runway 26, so we should be arriving on runway 26. You can just have a look. We have runway 26 set up there. You can go to our charts, hit the search, arrival, and have a look at our approach. ILS Zulu runway 26, pen that and open it up. Let's have a look at our frequency. 109.5 for the localizer. You can set that up. 109.5, 109.5. Then we've got the final tracking here of 266. Can set that up. Then we've got the arrival altitude, or the final approach altitude of 1450. You which is this point right here, that we can come in at 1,500 feet. But we will be adjusting our altitude as we get clearance from ATC. The airport or the runway elevation is 189, so you can set 150 here. Then for minimums we will go with 430 and set those up. Minimums 430.
Fair 238, radar vectors, ILS Zulu runway 26. Report ready for descent.
Alright, we're good for descent. We can report ready for descent now.
Radar vectors, ILS Zulu runway 26, ready for descent, SAFAIR 238.
SAFAIR 238, turn left, heading 225, descend to flight level 230, Port Elizabeth landing runway 26.
Turn left, heading 225, descend to flight level 230, Port Elizabeth landing runway 26, SAFAIR 238.
So we've got 225 at 230.
SAFAIR 238, turn left, heading 225, vectors for the approach. Expect further clearance in about 32 miles.
Alright, let's descend.
Turn left, heading 225, SAFAIR
Then
238.
we can hit our heading select. Alright, let's just have a look at our flight plan here, because we are making our way to the initial fix here, which is 1,500. I'm just going to get rid of all of the waypoints so that we can just assess our profile accordingly. So we are above profile, but then we should be increasing the descent rate. So just let out some of the speed brake to increase the descent rate and keep the speed under control as we are being radar vectored in. Awesome, have that under control. We are dropping lower so that we will be back on profile. So the aim is just to ensure that we get this diamond back on the center, and then we should know that we are on profile. As you can see, steeper descent, which is very, very steep. But it should balance out once the profile comes closer. It's a very steep descent. Right, it should start decreasing the rate of descent now that the profile is approaching. We are at 230. I'm just going to continue making my way down maybe to 20,000 feet. BeyondATC just has a tendency of being delayed with regards to issuing further instructions on making our way down. So I'm just going to continue the descent over there, and then maybe just key in 10,000 feet just to be safe.
Your tray table must be stowed, armrest down and window blind open. You now need to be seated with your seatbelt fastened ready for landing. Please help us by handing in any rubbish, newspapers or magazines that you do not want to take with you.
We adjust, and then I'm going to let go of the speed brake, and we are back on profile. There we go. So the descent rate should iron itself out, and then we can continue to set our next page, our radials. So we're going to set for 10 on this page, and then we're going to set for 5. Then go to the previous page, set one for 25, set one for 20, and set one for 50.
Safair 238, turn right, heading 265.
Right, 265.
Turn right, heading 265, Safair 238.
And let's listen to the ATC.
Ceiling 4,600 broken. Temperature 21. Dew point 1 tree.
Safair 238, turn left, heading 235, descend to flight level 160. Expect further clearance in about 25 miles.
Turn left, heading 235, descend to flight level 160, Safair 238.
Right, we are still on profile, so we're just going to maintain the descent. We just don't want to mess up the descent and come in a little bit too high. I'm just trying to work my way around the delay coming from BeyondATC, so we can continue listening to our ATC.
And departing runway 26. Transition level 060. Advise on initial contact you have information Zulu. Port Elizabeth Airport information Zulu. 1312 Zulu. Wind 240 at 6. Visibility 10 miles or more. Ceiling 4,600 broken. Temperature 21. Dew point 1 tree. QNH 1021. VFR conditions. Landing and departing runway 26. Transition left.
Alright, that's our ATC for the arrival airport. Just gonna go to my descent page and then go to forecast and queue in the QNH, which is 1021. And then in terms of the transition altitude, we have flight level 060. Key there in. Perfect. Right. And we are looking good on the descent. Just a little below 15,000 feet right now. We can set our reference speeds, so we will be doing a full flaps landing. We can insert that, and we are set for the landing. So we've got our reference speeds, we've got our minimums, and we can set our QNH, which is 1021, and the QNH is set as well. Awesome. Let's work out our braking, so we can go into our performance calculations. We have runway 26, import from the weather, full flaps. So we have 1,974 meters worth of runway. That's around 1.9 kilometers worth of runway. That's a pretty short runway. Probably gonna have to go full flaps and then auto brakes 3. There we go. We're gonna use the whole runway with auto brakes 3, so we will probably have to switch to manual at some point. Max auto, let's see, max auto.
Safair 238, turn left, heading 180.
So we're going left, 180.
Turn left, heading 180, Safair 238.
And then I'm going to set my auto brakes to max, because we have such a short runway. Until 11,000 feet. Let's go lower. Continue the descent. Set our final altitude 1,500 or just 2,000. Then let's watch out for our 10,000 foot marker, and then proceed to turn on our landing lights. The aircraft should be slowing down because soon we'll be heading under 10,000 feet, and we're gonna have to adhere to doing no more than 250 knots. And we should be doing this then. This is what I'm assuming is going to happen, because as you can see, I've got the dotted lines extending beyond this point, so we should be turning like that or heading diagonally like this to intercept the frequency from the localizer and then the glide slope as well. Still looking good. And we should be fine. We're less than 250 now. 10,000 feet, perfect. Oh nice, we have the view of the coastline here. Let's jump out and see. We'll get back to this view. Here we go. Oh, this looks beautiful. This is incredible. Here we go with the coastline, the end of South Africa. It's going to flip through them again because I want the right one. Yes, there we go, the right engine.
FAIR 238, contact Chief Dawid Stuurman, approach 120.4.
Less than 10,000 feet, can turn on our landing lights.
Contact Chief Dawid Stuurman, approach 120.4, FAIR 238.
Now
Chief Dawid Stuurman, FAIR 238, flight level 09 or 7, we have Zulu on board.
FAIR 374, contact Cape Town Control East 124.7.
Contact Cape Town Control East 124.7, FAIR 374, bye-bye.
FAIR 238, Chief Dawid Stuurman approach. Good day, QNH 1021, expect radar vectors for ILS Zulu runway 26.
QNH 1021, expect radar vectors for ILS Zulu runway 26, FAIR 238.
FAIR 238, 34 miles from CI 26Z, turn right. Heading 235, maintain 1,500 feet until established on the final approach course. Cleared ILS Zulu runway 26.
235.
Turn right, heading 235, 1,500 feet until established. Cleared ILS Zulu runway 26, FAIR 238.
Right, there we go. There we're making our turn and we're going to intercept the localizer at the dotted line. When we hit the 25 nautical mile marker, we're going to switch to flaps 0 speed and then engage flaps 1, and we'll work our way down. So it flips at the 15 nautical mile mark, should have flaps 5 out, and then we'll work our way down. See, this is what I meant by BeyondATC being delayed with giving you further clearance to lower altitudes. From its last transmission, it had told us to maintain, I think, 16,000 feet or so we would still be stuck at 16,000 feet at the moment and have to make our way down to 1,500, and that would lead to an unrealistic descent, you know? So it was good that we used our own discretion at some point. So this is just some of these are just some of the limits of the software. But anyway, we're looking good, we're making our way in. Once we do start picking up the localizer, we will then of course activate VOR or localizer mode so that we can fly the runway heading correctly. Or seeing that our final waypoint is, or our initial fixed waypoint is CI26, we can then go to the legs page and then just make our way to it again, and then just execute and hit airnav as well. We should make our turn towards it because we have been cleared anyway to intercept the localizer. There's the beautiful white sand, PE, very nice. There you go. So we should be picking it up somewhere around 15 nautical miles out, and then we should be making our way. We can pick it up there, just hit VOR localizer, and the aircraft will then make the necessary adjustments. So we are, from the distance measuring equipment, we are 25 nautical miles out. When it hits around 11 nautical miles out, that's when it will pick up the frequency correctly and then steer the aircraft correctly. We can focus on our speeds and flaps. So we hit the 25 nautical mile marker, speed intervention, bring it to flaps up speed, and we can begin slowing down the aircraft. We can extend our brakes. So the flaps up speed is the maximum speed for flaps 1, so that's why we are going to engage flaps 1 either way. We are picking up the glide slope as well, this is good. Flaps 1. We are working our way to flaps 5. So speed for flaps 1 is the maximum for flaps 5. Let's do 190. And when we hit 190, we will push out for flaps 5. We can do flaps 2. Right, we are at 190, we can then do flaps 5. There we go. We bring back our speed brake and just arm it. Awesome stuff. Flying over the sea, awesome. It's pretty nice. In front there so you can see it. It's pretty nice. Over the dash, there we go. Really nice. Right, got flaps 5. Now we can work our way down to flaps 5 speed and then at flaps 10. Get some speed break. We are below the glide slope, that's still good, but we are on profile as well, so that's still good. Flaps 5 is the maximum speed for flaps 10. That's my own rule of thumb. I'm not encouraging anybody to apply this in real life. So we are at the flaps 5 speed. We can extend the flaps to flaps 10. Then once we hit flaps 15, it's going to start beeping at us until we drop the landing gear. In the off position at 10 nautical miles out.
SAFAIR 23A, contact Chief Dawid Stuurman Tower 118.1.
Contact Tower 118.1, SAFAIR 238.
Let's drop our gear so that we can have further flaps extended.
Chief Dawid Stuurman Tower, SAFAIR 238,
well.
ILS Zulu runway 26.
We can see our runway.
SAFAIR 23A, Chief Dawid Stuurman Tower, wind 240 at 6, runway 26 clear to land.
And then continue to allocate our flaps accordingly.
Runway 26 cleared to land, SAFAIR 238.
Okay, the localizer has been captured. Now we can then also hit approach mode so that it captures the glide slope. And we are established on the ILS. Awesome. Right. Extend more flaps. Let's see what the passengers can see. These sleds have just come forward a bit. That's very nice. Nice flight over the sea there. Runway is in sight. Landing gear is down. We can turn on our taxi light. Awesome. Almost 5 nautical miles out. We're going to have to do VREV speed. Extend more flaps. Flaps 20. And then we can bring down our speed to 242 knots. And extend to full flaps for the landing. There we go. Alright, we're on the glide slope, we're below. Let's have a look at our approach chart. Missed approach, climb 2000 and running take. Okay, we'll set 2000. Go. We're on VREV speed. Runway is in sight. 1,000 feet out. You can disconnect the autopilot. Aircraft is under my control. Throttle can come off as well. Just keep on the center. Coming too high. Just dive. All the way down. There we go. Just keep it right there.
400. Approaching minimums.
In the center.
Minimums. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
There we go. Oh, that was such a smooth touchdown. Let's have a look at the end. There we go. There are our engines. Nice. Oh, that was such a smooth landing.
SAFAIR 238, exit next available taxiway.
Right, let's find our way to the next taxiway. Ah, that was such a...
Exit next available taxiway, SAFAIR 238.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cabin crew will shortly be leaving their seats to perform safety-related duties. However, we ask that you remain seated until the seatbelt sign has been switched off. Portable electronic devices for messaging, calls, or internet access may now be used. Please make sure that you take all your personal belongings with you, checking your seat pocket, underneath the seat, and when you open your lockers. Do take care when opening your lockers in case anything falls out. Smoking is not permitted until you reach a designated smoking area. On behalf of the captain and the crew, it has been our pleasure looking after you today. Our ground crew will help you complete your self-loading cargo journey. For the latest news, promotions, flight and destination information, check out our official Facebook page, Twitter, or the official self-loading cargo app.
Landing lights.
Thank you.
Start running the APU against the way of positioning to be strobe light as well. The weather system can come off as well, because that's bad for the ground crew. To move the terrain radar as well. This taxi.
SAFAIR 238, contact ground 122.65. Bye bye.
We'd expect gate 10 Alpha.
Ground 122.65, SAFAIR 238. Bye bye.
The requested position is already assigned to another aircraft.
Yes, we want to show me the spot and activate, yes. And then we're just going to revoke AI from that spot. So free this parking from AI. Yes, there we go. Let's contact ground and taxi to the assigned gate.
SAFAIR 238, request taxi to assigned gate.
SAFAIR 238, gate 10 Alpha, taxi via Alpha.
Let's keep coming.
Gate 10 Alpha via Alpha, SAFAIR 238.
Taxi light is on. Right. GSX can handle the deboarding in the doors. And then we're just gonna open our sheet here so that we see the landing rate as well. That was a pretty smooth landing. That was real butter. That was incredible. Let's just attempt to revoke AI one last time. Parking should be free now. Airport looks incredible. I love this. We had a planned arrival of 14:35. The time is actually 14:02. We're nice and early. Okay, we are approaching our parking over here, so I'm just gonna turn off our, or not yet, I'll turn them off when we start making our turn in. Just revoke it one last time. Free this parking from AI. There we go. It's free now. We see our parking, it's right there. You can turn off our taxi lights. Nice. So we'll be turning into Alpha 10 Alpha. So this is where we will be. Let's have a look. So that's 10. Put down the aircraft. On the aircraft. Oops, give it too much brake. From throttle. There we go. Make sure the whole body is sitting on the line and then turn it in. There we go. Straighten up. Very nice and straight. Let's hold it right there. Pull up our parking brake. Proceed to switch to the APU gens. Then we can turn off our engines.
Cabin crew, doors to manual and cross-check.
Alright, engines turned off, seatbelts can come off.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain
Box
seated
can
until
be
the captain
set.
turns off the seatbelt
Ground
sign.
power
Once
can
that
be
happens, we
requested.
will start deboarding and you'll be able to leave the aircraft. Thank you.
Alright, we've got a perfect parking, as you can see from the dents. We can stop our clocks. Oh, that was a great landing. You see, we rated it great landing. 143 feet per minute. We can clear that. But ground power, we can connect to the ground power and then turn off our APU. We can proceed to turn off the anti-collision lights as well. Awesome. Let's request for deboarding.
The boarding requested.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, and that brings us to the end of our flight to Port Elizabeth International Airport, now known as Chief Dawid Stuurman International Airport. I do trust that you enjoyed flying with me as much as I enjoyed having you on this flight. I love that we worked our way around BeyondATC and we managed to have quite a smooth landing as rated by the self-loading cargo rating software.
Passenger's bus is coming.
I look forward to flying back to OR Tambo International Airport with you on our next flight. But in the meantime, please keep well and keep supporting the channel. It really goes a long way. I appreciate every single second set or put into viewing all of the uploaded videos. See you next time, Captains. Goodbye.